Let's talk shop. Let's talk about a nitty gritty detail on a question that I process so differently than 5 years ago when I first got into real estate and my brain was like, well, why wouldn't everyone own a home? Like, that's just a no brainer. And it's part of the deal where I recognize part of our culture as Americans. We just have these like dogmatic thoughts as like, oh my gosh, you're wasting your life by renting. Oh my gosh, you're so immature. Like you're renting when you should be owning. We tend to view renting as a stage of life or a season for a reason, and the reason can be immaturity. It could be financial weakness. It could be just overall, fart in the windness. Like we've got these ideas where we dogmatically say dot dot dot, but eventually you grow up and you own. And then I find myself looking back on my own journey where when I came back to this country, what I did is I did the good American thing and I took what I had. I took all of our savings for a house and I said, how much house could I buy? And so the lender said, well, you can buy this much house. And I'm like, okay, thank you. And I went and I bought that much house and I did the good American thing and I put 20% down, or maybe you'll be extra super awesome and buy all cash. That's a good American thing because homeownership is the right choice for everyone. And then within about 2 years, I changed jobs, and through a series of events, I found myself wanting consolation, wanting security in money. And then when I looked around and I saw, wow, I've got a house and I've got a lot of money in that house. But the house makes a bad debit card, credit card. It makes a bad spendable monetary device. It makes a really good for savings account in a way, but a poor monetary exchange device. Because it didn't matter how hard I wanted it to be true, I could not go buy groceries or a vehicle or put gas in my car or buy a tool for my new business or whatever it was. I couldn't do that exchanging my house. I would have to go through some other mechanism in order to tap into that value. So what I discovered was a good way to orient that differently would be to exchange that house for a different home and use a different set of steps. So we'll save that for a different time, but what I want to talk through with you is a look at the market that I'm in right now in the Salt Lake City metropolitan area. I want to look side by side at a home that you could rent and a comparable home that you could buy and see how they stack up. Let's jump in. Let's dive in. All right, this is the tail end of this home. So we're going to have to look in Sugarhouse to find an available 3-bed, 2-bath to lease and to sell that are comparable. That's not always the case, but right now that is how we're looking. So here is here's our potential rental property. You'll see it's a 3-bed, 2-bath home at 1,830 square feet, and our for sale property is a 3-bed, 2-bath home at 1,643 square feet. What I'd like to call to attention is, so this is our for sale home, and so your interior colors are the current trend colors. Your dining space quite small, but you've got stained wood cabinets, kind of a dated-ish stained wood. Your countertops are check out this beautiful thunder coming. So your countertops are probably stone, stainless appliances. Then you got overall just pretty much on the upside of average. No garage, or no garage here. You got a back patio pad and a good backyard. So that's for sale. And if you're following the market right now, you know that things tend to go at or above list price. So let's just take it at its word and say $625,000 is the cost of this. And then over here on this one, let's check the stats. We got pretty contemporary, pretty modern color scheme inside. You've got stained cabinets, you've got stone countertops, you've got white appliances, but that's pretty standard with rentals. You're going to have a little bit of lagging design. So this bathroom hasn't been renovated. It's still functional and cute. And you've got laundry outside of the basement, which is nice, and a bathroom, which is not nice. And you've got this is the upstairs room. So you got nice, airy, above ground, extra square footage instead of below ground. So cool. Well, and then a garage. So actually a slight upgrade in that way. And you've got a yard. So let's check our assumptions here. We have this home that you can rent for $26.50 a month, this home that you can buy for $625. What does it look like if you buy this home at $625,000? Well, that's a great question. Thanks for asking, and don't you know that's what we're here for. If you bought that home at $625,000 and you were a good American, like I shared that I am a good American, dogmatic and well qualified, and we always do the right thing. Well, you're going to put 20% down, and this is what it's going to look like. You're going to bring approximately $140,000 to closing, and you're going to owe the bank, this is principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, estimated based on today's rates, of about $3,142. So you're going to bring $140,000 to this piggy bank, and you're going to owe an ongoing $3,142. Now, what does it look like if you rent it? Well, dear friend, you're going to owe $2,650 a month, and if it follows, deposit and fees, and then you're going to bring $2,650 down. So for $2,650 up front, or $140,000 up front, you can have and hold and live in and dwell in peacefully a 3-bed, 2-bath home in Sugarhouse. And then for $2,650 a month or $3,142 a month, you can do what we just mentioned. So, does it make sense to be dogmatic, to be so convinced that there is only one way to live and to live wisely, and that is home ownership? Does it make sense in every scenario? Or is there a case to be made that you might be better off saving this $140,000 minus the $26.50 you need to put down as a deposit here and investing it in a different real estate market? Like, for example, if you were to take it to Oklahoma City, what would your $140,000 minus $26.50, so what would your $137,000 get you in Oklahoma City? Well, it is regularly possible. Now, this is going to be a big asterisk right here of right now what is regularly possible might be not possible. But let's go with norms here. Normally, $137,000 will buy you a bell curve house, which means it's in the bell curve of the local population distribution, income distribution, and otherwise. And so for the $138,000 difference, you could go buy a house cash that is going to generate for you let's say $1,350 a month. All right, so $137,000 in difference here that you're going to take, and you're going to pay cash for a house. Now let's jump into the financials there and see how they stack up. All right, and it's nothing sexy for sure, but let's look at this assumptions and see what that $137,000 have deployed in a market like Oklahoma City that's a linear growth market that has predictable rental value percentages. Some people know it as the 1% rule, but if you got a home that you purchased for $137,000 and it's going to rent for $1,370 a month, that would conform to the 1% rule. But what we're looking for specifically is a predictable and achievable rent to home value ratio. So this is not a sexy deal at all, some would say. But what I'm hoping you see is that it really is. Because what we're talking about is the difference between purchasing a home in the Sugarhouse area of Salt Lake City versus renting a comparable home in the Sugarhouse district of Salt Lake City. With that cash difference, the down payment difference alone, you would be able to purchase a cash purchase home in a market like Oklahoma City. And let's say this is like, you're not even getting that 1% rule deal. You're not getting 1% of the total value of the home per month in rent. You're buying a home that's worth $137,000. You're paying $137,000 for it. You're not getting just a killer deal there, but you got a nice 1,100 square foot home that rents for $1,250 a month under the 1% rule. But let's see how it plays out. You're going to have assumptions like this is a cash purchase, so it's 100% down payment. So that's really all that matters there. Property taxes are going to conform to the local property taxes. Insurance should be about $1,200 a year. You're going to build in some maintenance money because you know you're going to spend it. You're going to build in a management fee, and then the tenant's going to pay all of the costs. So here's our assessed tax right here. All right, let's look at this. When you go rent in, and then you got your costs every month, that's going to spit out your total income after taxes of $814. So because you have no debt costs here, that's $814 of real cash flow every month, leading to an annual amount of $9,762. But wait, because you chose to rent in the 3-bedroom, 2-bath home in Sugarhouse district of beautiful Salt Lake City and redeploy what would have been your down payment into an asset that is generating income, you also, in addition to buying $814 in average monthly cash flow, you also saved money every month. How much money did you save? Well, it's the difference in, here we go, $3,142 in monthly payment and $29.50, whatever it is. You remember it. It wasn't that long ago. That's $492 a month. So $492 a month equates to $5,900 annually. So that means that if you factor in this cost of living savings that you got by choosing to rent the home instead of buy it, and you also factor in the cash flow coming from the asset that you purchased, that would be a total of 11% cash. 11%, 11.44. Ooh, look at that. Percent return on life choice. That's what we're going to say there. And put it into dollar values. Every single year, you'd be looking at around $15,666 back in your pocket as a result of renting instead of purchasing. So let's say you rented that home for 3 years. You would save $50,000. Okay, that's pretty cool. Let's hop into another estimate, which would say, what if you deployed this using leverage? Let's talk about that in a minute. Look at the leveraged version of this equation. So previously we looked at $137,000 in home, but let's leverage this. And since you'll be putting down 25% on these, that's going to be your conventional loan requirement for investment properties. You might be able to get away with 20%, but let's just, to be conservative, look at 25% down. So instead of going a strict 137,000 times 4 to say that you can buy 4 of them, I'm going to go, all right, well, that should be, I'm going to go down a little bit. So that's $137,000 times 4 is $548. I'm going to say, you know what, you're going to have costs to close on this. You're going to have some other costs. So let's just look at a conservative all-around version. You're going to purchase $525,000 worth of property. You're going to own about $4,480 worth of, 4,480 square feet of real estate, generating monthly rents of $5,000. And then I scaled all of your other costs and assumptions by 4. Management fee is a percent, so it doesn't scale. And now you're going to use a 30-year term, 3.75% interest rate, 25% down, conventional loan. All right, so let's look at this. Let's go down to the same thing we looked at before and look at this. But now we're using debt, so we lose, quote unquote lose. We pay a decent percentage of our total cash flow. So we come in here and we've got gross rents or rental income of $5,000 and then we're factoring in vacancy because nothing is occupied 100% of the time. So you get a effective gross income of $4,800 a month, and then you're going to pay your fees out, and so that's going to be a net operating income of $3,193 monthly, and then you're going to subtract out your mortgage payments, principal and interest, and now you've got cash after debt payments of $1,370 a month. All right, well, $1,370 a month is an annual cash flow after debt of $16,438. So let's look at the same equation we looked at before. 16,438. It factors in. It comes in at about a 12.5% return on investment because you invested a total down payment of $131,000. So that's your $137,000 equivalent from our last calculation, and then that's the returning $16,438 annually. But if you still consider our $492 of cost of living savings that we had before, and you add that back, you're going to get a total annual rate of return of 17% and a total cash value of $22,342 saved. So $22,342 saved every year from the combination of deploying the money that you would have spent on that down payment to cash flowing rental properties. And again, I want to reiterate, this is not a grand slam type of deal. This is I hate to say anything in the chaotic market that we're in, but this is a all day, every day kind of deal. This is not getting a quote unquote deal. This isn't buying it well below market value or anything like that. That's just going and buying cash flowing rental properties in areas with proven value. And that should return at an annual rate of about $22,000 when combined with what you're saving every month by living in that rental property instead of purchasing that property. And that every 3 years is another $67,000. So, not to mention that at the end of the 30 years, you will own these 4 properties totaling what is today $525,000, but will experience a 3% annualized rate of inflation, which keeps up with the rate of inflation, if you believe the Fed. And at the end of the day, you will own all of these homes outright because your debt is a 30-year term. So what I hope is abundantly clear now, and it may have been clear to you before, but hopefully now it is crystal, is it makes no sense to be dogmatic about things. I mean, we can't. There are many things actually in life that it does make sense to be, regimented and dogmatic and automatic about. Like, hey, work out. It makes sense. Eat healthy. It makes sense. Don't eat, filthy stuff. That makes sense. Like, don't kick people in the face. Well, it doesn't make sense. Some people need to be kicked in the face. Like people that are stealing things from you. People that are hurting others. Kick them in the face. We got to draw lines. And this is a line that I hope you feel good about drawing. There is not a obvious necessity to buy a home. In fact, in some markets, it makes no sense to buy a home. I would say Salt Lake City, this type of market, is on the line. It's not clearly a bad idea. In fact, if you were to purchase that home, that $625,000 home, at the average rate of market appreciation in Salt Lake City, you would gain about 7% a year. What's interesting is if you feel like that's the only choice, if you're in a system where everyone around you is drinking the Kool-Aid, as it were, of, hey, you're failing, you're immature, you're losing something, or what the heck is wrong with you for not buying a home, then you're going to probably buy a home. You're going to lock up your capital into that. You hopefully won't be in the situation I was in, my second year back in the U.S., of looking at that capital and being like, I could really use that capital, but it's all in this forced savings account. Maybe that's not you. And if that's not you in this market, you're going to see an average like 7 to 7.5% rate of appreciation. That's not bad at all. That's actually quite good. That's much better than Oklahoma City from a pure appreciation standpoint. But the problem comes when you need options, because you owe the bank $3,145 a month for the privilege of having your house. You can only rent your house for $2,650, whatever the rental number that we've been working on. See, Swiss cheese brain. So if that's your numbers, then it means you don't have the option to rent out your home and cover your debt. You're gonna have to lose money every month, or say invest money every month in order to get that appreciation. But in the illustration we've been walking through about taking your down payment money and putting it in investments in a linear growth market like Oklahoma City, what you're getting is you're not having to lose money to gain money through appreciation. You are actually saving money month after month to gain money through positive rental cash flow. And then when you combine what you're saving with your positive rental cash flow on a situational basis where you purchase the house in cash, it's actually quite amazing. On a situational basis of buying houses using leverage, it's simply mind-blowing. Here's another benefit. On your house in Oklahoma City's, like where you're getting rental cash flow, you're taking on the maintenance responsibility. So if a water heater goes out, or if your foundation needs some work, or if your heating and air unit goes out, then that's your responsibility. But you're taking on that responsibility in exchange for rental cash flow, in exchange for your tenants paying down your debt, and a few other things. The government wants to raise your interest rate or your property taxes? Yeah, homeowner. That's your privilege. Now flip that over, where you're buying the house in Sugarhouse in Salt Lake. You get all of the same traps and failings and weaknesses and liabilities of homeownership, but no economic benefit other than the appreciation. It's one-dimensional. And sometimes it makes sense. Sometimes it does. Like, it's your family home. You know that's where you're going to be for generations, or there's others. There's other situations where it's going to just make sense to just bite the bullet, say, hey, we're not going to buy rental properties. We're not going to invest otherwise. We want to be simple homeowner people. And it is simple to buy a home, but it is not necessarily economically efficient to do that. So if you were to buy that home, you plonk down your $140,000, and then you plonk down your $3,140 a month, and you have a leak like I did in one of our first properties to purchase, and it takes about $10,000 of very expensive guesswork from plumbers to find the leak, and it costs about $200 a month in wasted water. That's on you. It's yours. The insurance company doesn't want to pay for the replacement of your roof because they find a creative loophole out. That's yours. That's on you. Your water heater goes out. That's on you. Your heating and air unit on the fritz. That's on you. You see the habit. You see the tendencies here. It's all your opportunity. It's all your liability. But if you were the tenant, it would not be. And so in a situation where you are the owner and there is no economic benefit for the liability, then you need to look that in the face. You need to go into it eyes wide open and accept that liability. But if you are owning these investment properties and they are income generating investment properties, then at least it has the redeeming benefit of those liabilities have an economic utility to them, and also a tax utility, because if you have to fix these things, then they are repair costs and they are tax deductions. It's a beautiful thing. But all this to say, all this in hopes that we've illustrated that it is not a service to you to dogmatically say home ownership is for you. Let's not force that down each other's throats. Sometimes it will make a lot of sense. Sometimes it will make less sense. It's not about maturity. It's not about economic prosperity. In fact, it may often accomplish the opposite of what our cultural norm and our cultural story says. But if you look at everything through your lens and through your own self and your family's vision, values, and principles, and let the numbers and the decisions tell the story, then you can make the best decision for you. I hope this has been useful. And if you haven't already, please subscribe and check out some of our other videos. Whether you're interested in buying a home, selling a home, or investing in real estate, we've got something for you. And if you just like my nerdiness, we've got something for you there too. Have a wonderful day ahead. Thanks for tuning in.